Welcome to the podcast. Today's sponsor is 312 Urban Wheat Ale from Goose Island Brewery in Baldwinsville, New York. Folks, in case you're interested in being our sponsor, you can contact Al or myself at fearofabeigeplanet.com. You know how to figure us out, find us.
Short of introductions, I'm Al Lawrence. I'm kind of a big deal around here.
Yeah, I'm Paul Pate. I'm a world-renowned disco dancer. So if you want to be a sponsor on the podcast, just let us know. If you want to be involved in the podcast, what we found out this week is that it's not so easy to get a guest on the podcast, like if we were the Tonight Show or something, But if you do want to be a guest on the podcast, you can contact us too. The great thing about that is, so if you have a book or some music or any kind of arts, because that's what our podcast is about, then you'll get exposure. And like our audience, like my mom, she may buy your book, and read it. So, because that's a joke, Al. Get it? And my mom watches.
I was listening to that noise that we're getting in the background.
That's my heater.
Ah.
So no, the great thing about for those of you that don't know about podcasts is, we're going to have this podcast today talking about my books. Last week we talked about Al's screenplay, and then we've got some guests coming up. It's not a live thing, a year from now, if the podcast is popular, some of our audience may go back to the very first few editions of the podcast and listen, and then get exposure to your work if you become a guest on the podcast.
So, and see where our pathetic beginnings began.
Right. Hopefully, we'll be better at the podcast a year from now than we are today. So anyway, let's get this started. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Beige Planet Podcast. I'm Paul Pate.
I'm Al Lawrence.
Al, you are one beige brother from another mother. Good to have you, brother.
All right.
Okay, you started off, Al.
That little doo-wop song there, everybody, by the way, is called Exit Stage Left, which I probably wrote while intoxicated.
Congratulations. It's a fine piece of music.
Couldn't begin to tell you the notes that I was playing because, like I said, I was a little bit intoxicated.
Was it of the herbal variety, or was it of the...
I think I was on an Angry Orchard binge.
Okay.
So, anyway, this week, like Paul mentioned earlier, we talked about my screenplay, The Thorns of Rose. This week, we're going to talk to Paul about his graphic novel called Rust City. Now, my research department failed to come through for me. I did not get a copy of it, but I have skimmed through it. I will say that I'm semi-familiar with the origins of Rust City when Paul first came up with it, but I am curious what your motivation was, what your inspiration was behind creating this graphic novel.
Well, the Rust City, I'll tell you, the Rust City part of it was years and years ago, over 20 years ago now. I lived in Flint, Michigan for a couple of years, and man, what a shitty town. But
yeah.
But I mean, I made some great friends there, and the people there were just fantastic. I loved my time there, and what it makes me think about is, there's cities like Flint, Michigan. I mean, that's an extreme case, and since 20 years ago, it's gotten even worse. I mean, if you drive down there now, it looks like I'm not kidding, it looks like a war zone.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, but there's cities like that all across the country, that just haven't, the people there have not had the chance, the economic opportunity that a lot of other cities have had. But yet the people there are trying to make the best of it. They're doing they're not bad people. They're in a bad situation, and um, depending on where you may live, you may enjoy the comforts of not such a shitty town,
Right.
but if you were if you were in that situation, how would you handle it? I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't. I'm not going to say I would resort to crime, but I mean, it's just a lot tougher place to live than where most people live. And so, but I like the idea of people living there and trying to make the best of a bad situation. So that's the theme I kind of try to illustrate in my novels. Is especially as a police officer, because Flint oftentimes is like the murder. Every year is close for the title of murder capital of the USA. I mean,
Yeah,
in
but
fact,
currently, I believe Flint's in the top 5 right now.
yeah. In fact, I think sometimes the murder rate there is higher than in Baghdad. Um, so, you know, who has the toughest job in that town? It would be a cop. And so that's what Detective Perez. The story is about a guy trying to make the best of, a shitty situation. So Rust City is not Flint. It's a fictional city, but it could be any city. It could be Detroit, it could be Cleveland. Um, I try to do a little bit of research on how the police procedure works. So it's not a big city. Flint's a smaller city, but it could be any number of cities all around the country that just have had you know uh, jobs. Mostly is where it starts. The jobs disappear and people are in desperate situation.
Right.
So that's where I hope that answers your question.
I got a 2-part question here next. Detective Perez.
Yeah.
It's strikingly like someone I know. So I was, who's the person you are basing that off of? And the second question is, what happened to Larry Lawrence?
Larry Lawrence, good. Well, if you actually um, read my second book, which is in progress, it's online right now on my website at paulpate.com, by the way. Um, you can also buy Detective Perez, Welcome to Rust City at Amazon.com. Just Google it or search Amazon.com. The print version you can buy there. Anyway, yes, Detective Perez. I used to love this show, Homicide: Life on the Street, and there's an actor on there named Clark Johnson. And originally, I wanted to make a character that looked remotely like Clark Johnson, but then I wanted to give him a after drawing him for a little bit, I wanted to give him his own unique look, and so then as you know, he looks. I based him slightly off your shape of your head, I guess, and he's a tall, skinny guy.
Yeah,
So
very odd shaped head, though.
right, I know. Like your ears, they're not. There's a couple of things like his nose is more like this.
Right.
Where your nose is more like this. Um, and his ears are huge. Where
My
your
ears.
ears are more tucked in.
One
but
sticks out, the other one's kind of tucked in.
so, but yeah, I just it's all yeah, it was fun to make him look sort of like you. So
Okay. Now, about Larry Lawrence.
Larry Lawrence, yes,
He was a character actually you and I worked on together at one point.
yeah, a long time ago. He's like just an arch criminal. Um, uh,
That's ironic.
Easy now. And you got me. Zinger. But he's like an international man of mystery, just somebody, a fun character that would, in any story, would be fun to have, and a good enemy for Detective Perez to have. So he's actually in my second book, Detective Perez and the Rust City Stabber. So,
Okay. All
which
right. Well,
is
give us a rundown on the first book, the introduction.
okay. It's called Detective Perez: Welcome to Rust City, And what happens in this story is Detective Perez is framed for a murder, and it's the murder of his girlfriend. And so he goes out and he tries to find, the real killer, while he's also hunted by the police. And he gets, he kind of comes across some real shady characters, and then he gets into a fight with a bunch of vampires who have sort of infested the city. And so, and then they just this big and messy adventure after that, and eventually, and it goes from there.
Well, now you got something for detective novels and vampire fans. There you go.
Exactly. It's all basically what I wanted to do was, I like, detective stories, and ever since I was a kid, vampire stories scared the shit out of me. So I'm like, I just want a bunch of stuff in there that I like. So that's what I did. I made a detective story and threw some vampires into it.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think the only vampire story that ever scared me was Bram Stoker's Dracula.
You see, that one I didn't do a whole lot for me, but the dude was scary though. The actor we mentioned him in our last podcast, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, fantastic actor, by the way.
Yeah, great. Oh, by the way, Rosario. Oh, go ahead.
What's that? I was going to say Hollywood gave him the shaft so far his entire career. One of the best actors out there, and they won't give him the best acting award.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he kind of like, sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio? No.
On a different level.
Hey, I'll move to the middle a little bit, I'm afraid. Yeah. By the way, Rosario Dawson was the name of the one I was thinking about playing Rose.
Oh, okay. That was I was thinking of. I had her name too right after we signed off last time, and now I forgot. The one I was thinking of, the angry Mexican girl.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's it. She's pissed off in everything she's in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she was a boxer.
She'd be good for a female role in your story. If you turn that into a movie, she'd be.
Yeah, she could play Christina, she gets murdered in the beginning of the story. So
she dies in everything she's in anyway. So
yeah,
she's pissed off.
That's what you get what you put into it. Get out of the world what you put into it. No, I was thinking of Rosario Dawson. That's kind of Halle Berry would really work for me as Rose. Anyway, where were we?
My next, no, actually, I forgot my next question.
Oh, we were talking about Gary Oldman.
Yeah, but getting back to your story.
Oh yeah.
Where is this? I mean, do you have a story arc like for book 3?
Book 3, no. I've just been thinking about different things because what I do is start off. I write the script for the story, and then it takes me a long time to draw it. Like a year. And
basically, what I'm getting to is what are you going to are any characters going to be revisited as far as like the protagonists? I mean, and the antagonists.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few characters in the first book. There's one character. Well, there's two characters actually in the first book that appear in the second book. Harrison Manback is Detective Perez's criminal cousin. He's his cousin, and he's a sort of like the head gangster in this Rust City. He's in the second book. He will definitely be in the third book. And then there's a character, Laura Leone, who is in the first book and the second book. She's the county medical examiner.
Okay.
She's in the first book and the second book. I doubt she'll be in the third book. But why? But she's maybe. Who knows? I'm just kind of thinking of the third book right now. I'm not scripting out. Now, there's also a character, Bubba, in the first book. That's not in the second book, but he'll definitely be in the third book. He's a vampire hunter.
Oh, okay. So, now, like we mentioned earlier, in case anyone missed it, this is a graphic novel. You do all the drawing.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, sorry about that. I was just getting some fortification. Yeah, what I do is write the script for it initially, and then I draw it, and it takes a long time to draw. Um,
How long does it take
about
to draw a
about
page?
about a page, about 2 hours
Okay.
on average. It depends on how many faces and what the backgrounds look like. But if you want, in fact, we can take. I'm going to try to share my screen, and we can take a look at the some pages. So bear with me. We won't go too long on this because people in the audio podcast won't be able to see it. But give me a sec.
There are people listening to this?
Yeah, my mom. God, I told you that.
While he's preparing that, I should also let everyone know that I'm a bit behind, but I am creating a promotional video for it, which will eventually be posted to our YouTube page, YouTube channel page, Beige Planet. Something just happened on the screen.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so here's the beginning of it, and we'll just take a sort of a browse through the novel. You can see that the artwork is not like it's not going to be like Image Comics or even Marvel or DC. It's sort of stark, sort of what would you call the style, Al? Sort of
Dark noir.
noir, yeah, but and simple drawings.
Well, yeah, the story.
This could be Michelle Rodriguez right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of hot. Um,
The angry Mexican.
yeah, for a cartoon, she's kind of hot.
Yeah, it's kind of cartoony. The drawings are pretty cartoony.
Yeah, but I think that fits with what you're doing.
Yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to do. I'm the illustrator, and I'm the writer. So it's not like I wrote the story, handed off to some guy who spends 8 hours on a page.
Right.
I sort of envisioned the thing from the beginning to the end, and so yeah, that's important for me is for the style of the artwork to match the story.
Correct.
And plus, I mean, I just didn't want to spend 8 hours on a page and never get the thing done. As like we talked about last week in the podcast, I wanted to get it done and say that I did it. I have a published book that you can buy at Amazon.com. Or go to paulpage.com.
That's 2 plugs he's got in.
Yeah. So yeah, so it takes me about 2 hours a page. So as much as I get to work on it, it takes a good year to draw the whole book, and so yeah, that's how it works.
I just wanted to mention too is like we talked about last week with my screenplay, and now we're talking about your graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big differences is because you are the illustrator, you have a lot more. You have total control over your project, whereas you write the framework and then you create the scenes. Where I'm just writing the framework, and I do have to hand it off.
Yeah.
And rely on somebody to stay within the tone and atmosphere that I'm trying to paint.
Right. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you about that. Because you're in your 11th rewrite, and you've got a writer helping you with it. Well, how does that work? What if you find out you don't really trust him, or he goes away from your vision? I guess you probably have to communicate with the guy.
Yeah, we communicate. He contacts me for approval. He'll come up with something. He'll send it to me, ask me to read it, and I mean, I've got total control
Mm-hmm.
over what goes in it. If I don't like
Right.
anything he does, then it all gets taken out. But so far, he's come up with some good ideas. There's some ideas that I didn't like, which I told him, and he said, okay, let's move on then.
Oh, cool. That's great. I think that's fantastic. Like to get the input of, somebody to look at it with fresh eyes. And
Exactly.
I didn't have that so much. My second book, which I think is going to be a great improvement upon my first book, I did have an editor, and he read over it and gave me some great ideas. And so
Right.
I'll give you an example of one. So, kind of the whole theme of the story is Detective Perez. There's this Laura Leone is the county medical examiner, and so on this, they work together sort of regularly. You know, they know each other, and so on this case, well, Laura Leone is coming on to him really hard. Like she really wants Detective Perez, and she tells him how much in love she is with him, and that's sort of the whole theme of the story is that she tells him how much in love she is with him, and he rebuffs her throughout the whole story.
Okay.
And so the guy that helped me, you know, the editor, he read it and he told me, he's like, you know, I mean, this is one thing he told me. He told me lots of things that were super helpful. But he said, I don't get where this Laura is coming from, you know. I mean, why would she keep putting herself through this? This doesn't make sense to me. And so I had to think of a way to, you know, sort of solve that problem. And so it came to me real easy. I didn't change hardly anything, but what I did was I have this friend at work who's like in his mid-20s. He's single, and he's always telling me about all these dates and, you know, his adventurous love life. So we were taking a walk at work one day, and we walked by this girl, and he said, "Hey, see that girl over there? Yeah, I went out with her a while ago. Yeah, we went out like 3 times, and all of a sudden she asked me that if we should get a dog together." like, like that's really weird. And I was like, "That's it. That's it. That's the story behind Laura. You know, she's just off. You know, and
Okay. It's surprising the simple things that can inspire a change. Because I had a similar thing. I had a professional writer critique my screenplay,
mm-hmm.
and one thing he mentioned again, like you, he mentioned a lot of good things which were really helpful. But he mentioned that everyone is going to hate the way in its current form. No one's really going to identify with Rose. No one's really going to like her.
Mm-hmm.
Something, give her a talent that she's really good at.
Okay.
Giving her, an accomplishment, something that drives her.
Right.
And I was, and this actually, what happened, the inspiration behind it actually inspired 2 different things. There was a song I was listening to by Lorena McKennitt.
Oh yeah.
She's a Celtic world music artist, and that inspired me to give her. She starts. I went back through, and now Rose plays the violin, which she excels at it because I've always been really fascinated with the violin.
Hmm.
I'm actually mad at myself for not learning how to play it.
Al, it's never too late. Sorry to interrupt, but I just had to get that in there.
But and then it also actually, and the name of the song right now eludes me at the moment, but it also inspired a scene. What was that? Is that the toilet?
No, it's the heater again.
Okay.
It's cold outside.
Anyway, it inspired.
Sorry.
We're in low budget studios here, folks.
Yeah, you know, in fact, I rearranged mine, and now that this happened, yeah, I see the error of my ways. My shelves used to cut that off. So, anyway.
But it inspired a scene which, for 6 months, I could not figure. The problem I was having was how did Rose meet her potential employers?
Oh, okay.
I did not know. You know, I wanted to come up with. It was what you read it. It was a 2-minute scene, and it became it was a scene basically where she had 2 choices: destroy herself by drinking herself to death,
right,
or take this job. And the music just for some reason just opened up the scene. I don't know if you use music when you write.
Yeah. I think that's. Well, I think of songs like what type of music would go with this. Unfortunately, you can't put it. Well, with the screenplay, it's going to be a movie, so
Right.
the music can get in there. You can come up with a soundtrack. With a book, you you can't. But that's the great thing about I love the music that you put toward the promotional video of Detective Perez was completely different than the music that I was thinking of. The music I'm thinking of is Roadhouse Blues by the Doors. Woke up this morning and I had myself a beer. But that's not what other people think of when they read the story. So it's great. Yeah, I love thinking of music, while I'm drawing.
The piece I put to it, which by the way I wrote.
Where can we listen to that?
Actually, there is a video on Darth Beige 1 YouTube. The name of the song is called Trans Wanderer. It does not have anything with Rust City in it. It does have my photographs.
Okay.
I was messing around. I've been messing around with photography.
Let's put a link of that onto the website, fearofabeigeplanet.com.
Yeah.
Put a link to your music so our listeners
can. Yeah, that's on my personal channel.
Okay. Well, we should be able to link to that.
Yeah, Darth Beige 1.
We can also probably just put the video on our Beige Planet podcast channel.
Yeah, I can post it on there. Okay. But yeah, music helps me write. I'll be stumped to write a scene, and I'll just sit back, listen to some music, and then all of a sudden the scene will just open up. Whether it's, I don't know how it works for you, whether it's the writing part or the drawing part.
Yeah, the drawing part's more. It's more tedious and laborious, whereas the writing part of it, which is I find to be very daunting and very, I feel very uncomfortable writing, but it's fun. I mean, it's challenging for me, and I look at it like it's not even that fun. I mean, I find it to be very difficult.
No, it's extremely difficult. There's nothing fun about it until you get to the finished product.
Right, but I find it to be like working on a problem, like the guy told me about a problem, or you can get 3/4 of the way through your story and just be like, shit, none of this works. This doesn't work. I have to come up with a different idea, like you said, with with how does she meet her employers? That's going to make sense. It's going to be real, and people are going to buy it.
Right, exactly. You want to make it somewhat realistic.
Like vampires. How are you going to get vampires in here? That's the great thing about my stories. That I don't have to make it too believable because I have vampires in my stories. I can pretty much do whatever I want. But I want it to be when a story like that. What you want is you don't want it to be boring and suck. You want it to be fun and cool and funny. And
right.
So you got to come up. You can't come up with lame stuff.
But this also goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's great to get a second set of eyes because you become so invested in it. Like in my situation, I was so immersed in the story I could not look at it objectively anymore.
Right.
So I knew changes had to be made. So I went and hired this other writer to jump on, get a fresh pair of eyes. And that's good that you went out and got an editor because that's a fresh pair of eyes. Someone who's not so invested in the storyline that he can see things.
Yeah.
By
the way, he's going to be a future guest on our podcast.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it should be real good. He's a character. I'm looking forward to it. So,
hopefully the next one I'll have some, especially when he comes on, I'll have some drinks prepared.
Good. Yeah, you better. Now we're getting close to that time where we should bring up our interesting.
Well,
do you have any more?
No, we can move on. I really wanted really quick, and I made a promise to a friend of mine. Her name is Jacqueline Teo. She lives in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
She's putting in all her time and effort, fighting for the Singaporean people. A lot of people aren't aware of what's going on in Singapore. Very, very oppressive, corrupt government. And so I just wanted to, let her know that, people around the world are watching and paying attention, and we're all pulling for her.
Good luck, Jacqueline.
So
hang in there.
My one other interesting thing is I got banned on Facebook for 24 hours.
What Facebook?
Yeah, I
The
was not allowed to comment on
a
anything.
timeout.
Yeah, I got
They
put
put
on.
you in. I did not even. I did not know they had such a thing. That's freaking
Yeah,
hilarious.
I was talking. I was posting, commenting on stuff, and all of a sudden, I was on my phone too. I was doing it, and all of a sudden, I got logged out of Facebook. Then when I log back in, it sends me this that someone reported me for some comment that I made,
Uh huh.
and it was a right wing troll that reported me,
Okay.
and then deleted his account after he reported me. You know, typical
Uh
bitch.
huh.
So I got put on 24-hour timeout. Then the following, when I get back on, there was a funny meme we came across Facebook.
Uh-huh.
That I'm paraphrasing here. It said something, you know, do you hate? Are you a Republican and do you hate gays and do you hate taxes? You know, why not hate them both
So that
at
way
the
the gays don't have to pay
at
taxes.
the same time? Yeah, tell your congressman to no longer to make it illegal for gays to pay taxes because that gay money goes to your schools, the military, the roads,
Right.
gay. And, a friend of mine reposted it. She shared it, and then about an hour later, I get a message from one of her friends saying, "This I find this picture offensive and or distasteful. Please take it down." Um, there's not. Yeah, I don't know.
What's
It's
that?
so there's extremely sensitive people running around Facebook right now.
So I didn't know that you could get. So somebody reported you, so they put you on timeout for 24 hours.
Yeah, you can actually after a certain number. I don't know what that number is. Um, but if you get after a certain number of timeouts, they can actually kill your account.
So who's to say that you don't find some douche that you dislike, and just for the hell of it, go keep reporting them. I mean, I don't understand.
See, that's the thing is,
Like
you know,
there's
I got reported for some comment, but I've seen straight up hate pages Facebook won't mess with.
right. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's completely. I don't know. There are a bunch of douchebags at Facebook.
Huh.
Where,
It's just it's interesting. You
yeah,
know, it's
it,
interesting.
their whole process makes no sense whatsoever. Um,
Yeah, they're just people just like you and I, just trying to figure out. I mean, it's you know, just
yeah,
crazy. All of a sudden, they got 7 billion users going nuts. How do you manage that? Wow. Well, my
well,
oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
How'd your week go?
Well, my random event actually is so I went to the gym where I go play basketball and try to get some exercise. Come into the and it's um, so I come into the locker room and
Oh, locker room story.
yeah, locker room story. Go take say there's some old dudes there. I always chit chat with man. It sure is. This winter has been brutal, hasn't it? Yep. Boy, it's good to get some exercise. Yeah. I feel better now that it's done. Just common small talk.
Right.
I'm surprisingly good at it. It's kind of depressing, but anyway. So I go take a shower. I come back from the shower, and this old dude is putting my pants on. And so I'm kind of standing there like in my towel, looking at this dude, and he's putting my pants on, and he's looking at me. We were just talking earlier, and he kind of looks at me and looks at his locker, and he looks confused, and he's like, "Oh man, what is going on? I didn't think I wore jeans today," you know. Now he didn't put on my underwear. Just I want to just put that out there. So,
I'll
um,
put them on
he,
anyway.
yeah. So anyway,
That's fine.
just anyway, he took them off, and yeah. End of story.
That's a comedy scene right there. It should go in so many different directions.
Anyway, All right.
I think that's all I got for today.
Well, thanks for another fascinating edition of the Beige Planet podcast. We'll come to you next week with hopefully some good guests. And I don't know, by then maybe we won't suck so bad. I don't know. I doubt it. I'm Paul Pate. Come back next time.
I'm Al Lawrence, and hopefully we'll be drunk next time.
There you go. Cheers.